How do we teach our children to show respect for others and especially anybody in authority? My name is Annette, and Effortless Parenting will show you how you deserve a calmer home and how to have the courage to be an imperfect parent. I came across these ferns during the week and I'm always amazed how, let me just show you how when they come out, they are so kind of gentle looking and kind of really protective of their core, and yet then when they're fully grown, they're this really strong leaf that is like looks so majestic in a way. And I met somebody here in the park yesterday and he explained to me that they don't need much. They can thrive in damp places and shade, and especially this fern garden here, it's usually in the shade, and it reminded me of the analogy in parenting, because I feel that nature and animals are really here to heal us, and I get really inspired by nature. So it reminded me how that gentleness on the one side and this real strength, how we have all these attributes inside us on the whole spectrum, the dark and the light. And this week in my parenting course, I was teaching how we validate all our children's emotions. And what I mean by that is they all have a place and they all deserve to be there, because our emotions give us really important information about who we are and what's happening to us. So we learn to trust our emotion, but we separate that the actions and the thoughts that we have about our emotions are two different things. So in traditional parenting, it's all thrown into the same pot. So let's say a child misbehaves, and because they have some emotion, a strong one or a fear-based one, and we would say to them, you're a very bad child, or and you're a bad person, and it's all the one. And in this Adlerian approach, we separate the deed from the doer. And I want to give an example which is completely made up. I just thought of it this morning. It's not something that happened, but let's say, for example, your child is in school and the teacher says to the class, you're all getting a homework pass if you behave nicely until lunchtime. So the whole class behaves because they want a homework pass, and lunch is over and they come back from the break, and then one child starts acting out. And the teacher says, okay, that's enough. And he starts, or she starts raging and goes, I've had enough, I'm withdrawing the homework pass and nobody's getting it. And then let's say your child finds this really unfair, has a really strong emotion and says to the teacher, this is so unfair and you're a bad teacher. And then the teacher reacts and says, okay, your behavior is unacceptable, you're going to the naughty chair, and then you get the picture. And then your child comes home and maybe the teacher has even given you a call about your child's unacceptable behavior. And then you talk to your child, and if at that stage you say to your child how that's not acceptable and they can't behave like that in school, for your child it's almost like adding insult to injury. The child was already humiliated and is feeling that unfairness. So what I would recommend, and try this out for yourself, is that we validate what's going on with the child, so we don't even need to agree with their behavior, but the emotion is there and needs to be validated. So you can say to your child, you seemed, or you perceived that as really unfair when first you got that homework pass and then it was withdrawn, and and that it was the whole class was punished, or you felt punished, and you didn't agree with that decision by the teacher. And then you're giving your child validation, and you're naming this feeling, you know, so they understand as well what it is they're feeling. And then their action is going to be addressed at a very different time. Because when we're in that stage of that really strong emotion, it's not a time for problem solving. And you've probably observed this in yourself, you know, when you're feeling really strongly about something, or I tend to be stuck for words, and then when the emotion is gone and at a later time, you've got all these great ideas about what you could have said and done. And it's the same with our children. They really need to be validated, and then the problem solving comes at a different time. So at a very, very different time, when everyone is calm, again, you could ask your child, so, you know, when you thought that this was a really unfair decision by your teacher, how could you handle this differently in future? What could you say to the teacher? And then let your child come up with ideas. Our children are so wise, and they really are good at solving their own problems. And I think we're just there to hold that space for them, you know. So leave me a comment below and tell me how you get on, and enjoy creating calmer homes.